I'd like to start with a scripture verse this morning that speaks to me. Psalm 56, verse 3. When I am afraid, I will trust in the Lord. To his loving and devoted wife, Tracy, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Kaskin, stepdaughters, Caitlin and Justine, brother Josh, granddaughters, on behalf of the Anderson Police Department, I want to extend our heartfelt sympathy to you. First and foremost, I want to thank you for sharing Ethan with us. Often it feels that we spend more time with our law enforcement family than we do with our own families. Ethan started his employment with us, the Anderson Police Department, on November 10th, 2008. And over the past few days, everyone has learned, family members, friends, law enforcement officers, and media, of the amazing person Ethan was in our community. And we can all learn from Ethan. Ethan was passionate, understanding. He never rushed to judgment, all while having the constant ability to reason and listen to a person no matter what their circumstance in life was. You know, usually most law enforcement issues come down to a fact that a person really just wants someone to listen to them and hear what their problems are. Ethan stood as an example to our young officers that to arrest someone and throw them in jail was not just the easy answer. Patience is not always a virtue of most law enforcement officers, but for Ethan, he had that gift of patience. He had the ability to talk with anyone and never met a stranger. Ethan loved our downtown area, and he made this his special project. He could catch Ethan on the weekends downtown almost every Friday or Saturday night. Every Monday morning, I got a special report from Ethan on what happened on Friday and Saturday night and what had transpired over the weekend, usually with his own editorial comments about what we could do to fix things. He wanted to see the downtown be a success and the city of Anderson be a success. Ethan was equally as kind to the residents, business owners, and the homeless. And he also had a special place in his heart for animals. Tracy shared with me a story of a hound dog Ethan met one day as other officers and himself were chasing a suspect. He told the hound dog that if you are here when I get back, you're going home with me. He did, and I met that dog this week. I knew it was that dog because he tried to lick my hand while the other dogs were barking at me. He treated each and every person equally. Tracy shared with me, and I think it's worth noting to all of you, that one of the main reasons that Ethan worked the overtime and the overtime detail, it was to provide cleaning service at the house so Tracy didn't have to do it. And also for his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Kaskin, so they didn't have to do it. He also was sending money for an upcoming grandchild. That's just the special person that Ethan was in life. And while it was not known by everyone, Ethan was contemplating retiring. I passed Ethan in the hallway about a month ago, and I told him that I heard a nasty rumor that he was thinking of retiring. Ethan said, yes, it's true. So I asked him in my best salesman voice I could use to get him to reconsider. So you see, when I look at Ethan, I see more than just him being the detective. I see the overall picture. Over Ethan's 12 years of service to the police department, he was more than just a detective. He worked in patrol as he started, traffic, cops, our community officer program. In fact, he transferred investigations from that unit back to the cops team to do more community patrol, and then back to investigations. So when I think of Ethan, I think of so many officers when given a task can perform that job. They can perform any job description that's given to them. Ethan was one of those people. Ethan provided much leadership and guidance to our young officers. And I told him, I said, we need that leadership within our department, and I asked him to reconsider. 2 weeks ago, as I ran into Ethan as we were both parking in the city lot starting our day, Ethan said, "Hey, Chief." He called me down. I come over. He said, "I've given some thought to what you said, and I've decided to stick around." I told Ethan, "Great news. You made my day." See, Ethan was a cop's cop, someone we could all look up to. He provided that much needed leadership and what is needed in the framework in law enforcement and in our country today. He remained loyal to our department and to this community that he loved so much. As I met with Tracy last Friday, she shared a story with me, and I want to share this story with you because it reminds me of so much of who Ethan is. Tracy and Ethan had been married for 6 years and dated some time before that. Once they moved into the current house they're in, so did Sophie the cat. Sophie had been with Tracy forever, and Tracy loved Sophie. As Ethan left one morning, Sophie ran out the door. I'm sure Ethan was puzzled at what to do because he loved Tracy and could not imagine telling her that the cat she loved so much had just escaped out the door. When Tracy came home that day, he told Tracy that Sophie was gone. Amidst the sadness, Ethan presented a box, and they buried the box. Sometime later, as Ethan was working in the yard, Sophie surprised him by rubbing up against his leg. I'm sure we'd all be like Ethan right here at this point and say, "What do I do now?" Ethan called Tracy and said, "When you get home, I've got a surprise for you. Don't go in the house." Tracy beat Ethan home that day, and Ethan questioned her if she had been inside the house. No, she waited on Ethan. Ethan led Tracy in the house, and yes, there she was. Sophie was back in the house. I thought of that story, and I thought so much of I Love Lucy and Desi Arnaz telling Lucy, "You've got some splaining to do." Ethan confessed. Tracy told him this was going to cost him, and it did. I just had one question for Tracy after she told me that story. What was in the box? Tracy laughed. It said it was the junk from the trunk of his city car. I'll never forget this story. Tracy, Ethan loved you with all his heart. For all our law enforcement here today, stay strong. It is said that law enforcement is a calling. The average officer knows within the first 3 or 4 years if this is for them. And if I could say one final thing to Ethan. Ethan, we thank you for allowing us to serve with you in this Brotherhood of Blue. Your dedication to this agency and your leadership. We will never, never forget your ultimate sacrifice. As chief of the Anderson Police Department, I recognize the sacrifice you have made for our agency. My last official act for you is to promote you from the rank of detective sergeant to detective lieutenant. Rest in peace. We've got it from here. Tracy, my prayers are with you and the family. You will always be part of our family.